Hello and welcome to Your Questions Answered with Father Gruner. I'm John Veneri. This program is one in which we take your questions that you send to us. Father Gruner answers them. We talk about them. Please continue to send us your questions at what you see at the bottom of the screen here, questions@thefatimacenter.com. Today we're going to be talking about something that you have to deal with over and over again, and that is the accusation that you are suspended. And someone wrote in and said, the Congregation of the Clergy, upon mandate from higher authority, wishes to state that the Reverend Father Gruner, under an ad divinis suspension, which has been confirmed by the definitive sentence of the Supreme Tribunal of the Apostolic Signatura. And the man writing says, but you say you're not suspended, so basically how do we understand this?
Well, it goes on to say, so I believe the Vatican is lying. Well, first of all, perhaps you should start off with what is the Vatican? The Vatican is a group of men. I mean, they're certainly there's about 1,000 people who live in the Vatican, and maybe several thousand people who work in the Vatican. And of course, when people talk about the Vatican, they almost think it's the Pope who's behind everything that is said and done there. But that's of course not true. So what we're talking about is a piece of paper. I presume it's a piece of paper. It was published in the Observatore Romano on the day after 9/11, on the 12th of September 2001.
Yes.
And as has been pointed out over and over again, so if you want a short answer, we have a one-page letter, we have a two-page letter, we have a portrait letter, we have a 16-page letter. Then we have, after that, we have 80 pages of answer to that. And then beyond that, we have 500 pages and over 1,000 pages. So it all depends how much people want to get into this. Mm-hmm. I'll try to keep it simple as possible. First of all, there's two things I'd like to point out. That the Congregation of the Clergy, upon mandate from higher authority, this higher authority is not named. So people would think the higher authority is the Pope. The higher authority is not the Pope, it's the Secretary of State. So
higher authority they're talking about here.
Yeah, they're talking about here.
Yes.
It's the same thing, when Archbishop Lefebvre was, when the suppression of the Society's chapel was done in 1975, actually 74 I believe it was, or 75, but it was Archbishop Lefebvre appealed it to the Signatura. And the Signatura received this appeal on Friday. How do I know that? Because I was in Rome at the time. I was just left my teaching post I had in the United States in the seminary, and I was in Rome. And so it was announced on Friday in the newspapers that the thing had been filed, that the appeal had been filed against the decree of the Bishop of Sion, in the Diocese of Switzerland. And what happened was that on Monday, so you have the court is usually not in session Saturday or Sunday, but anyway,
the Vatican shuts down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shut. Yeah.
So on Monday, it was reported in the newspaper that the appeal of Archbishop Lefebvre had been refused by mandate of higher authority. So first of all, we knew that it couldn't be. They couldn't have heard the case. Number one, and it was because the timing was. It was filed today, Friday, the following Monday. There's Saturday and Sunday in between, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And so it was in the front pages of the paper on Monday. So what the phrase used was mandate of higher authority. Well, I can tell you what happened because I happen to know Father Hess, who knew the Sabatini, who was the prefect of the Signatura. And what Sabatini told Father Hess, who told me, and he told me this in 1998 or thereabouts, he said, Sabatini got a phone call from, who is it now, back in Biot, the Secretary of State saying, you'll not hear that case. So as a result of this, Sabatini was pro-prefect, by the way. He wasn't yet made cardinal. And so he says case rejected. And so by mandate of authority. But they don't like to name who this so-called higher authority is as being Secretary of State. So it's the same kind of phraseology here, the Secretary of State. Now let's just talk about the Secretary of State for a moment. As my bishop at the time, back in 1989, said, I am worried by, there's worried signals coming from the Secretariat of State. That, of course, at that time was Casiroli. Mm-hmm. So here's the Casiroli interfering in what a priest is doing. So I'm over here with the Bishop of Avellino's permission. I'm here with his written permission. Okay. So, and I'm not doing anything wrong. But I'm interfering. I'm not trying to interfere. I'm just doing my job as a Catholic priest, saving souls and promoting the message of Fatima. But according to his way of thinking, I'm interfering with his Vatican diplomacy. Because you see, the Vatican signed this agreement to make a deal with Russia not to condemn communism. And we signed is a figurative term. We have no, it's so secret, they have never produced a document, but we all know it exists. And we can prove that another time. But so, Father Gruner, this little priest in Canada, is talking about the message of Fatima. The message of Fatima talks about the heirs of Russia. Now, we all know the heirs of Russia didn't come from Russia originally. They come from Masonry and come from Karl Marx and people like that. But that's a phraseology that comes from, because Russia is the one that's been used to promote them. So I'm saying these are heirs coming from Russia. Now, we know that from the message of Fatima. Well, that doesn't go down well with Cardinal Casaroli's view of how the diplomacy of the Vatican should work. So he's got to shut Father Gruner up. So he sends worried signals to my bishop. But they can't condemn me for anything I've done because I'm promoting the message of Fatima. The message of Fatima is approved by the Catholic Church. What can they say?
Also,
so what do they do? What do they do? They have to concoct a case. I'll tell you about the case in a moment. Do you want to say something?
well, I wanted to say, I was just making it clear from the very beginning that you yourself have never received a letter telling you that you were suspended.
No. First of all, the congregation, the second, I have made, I still have, how many is it? 6 cases still outstanding against cardinals, bishops, and archbishops. I think the bishop now is dead. But there's still 6 cardinals named in my cases, which I have sent through proper channels, according to canon law, contrary to people like Cardinal Hoyos, Cardinal Sanchez, I've forgotten all of them now, but I've got the documentation, but they never heard my case. So if they're talking about court cases, and the Pope is bound to hear my case, because canon law says this, that if you cannot sue a cardinal except through the church. That's what the law says. So these are cardinals. So I'm bound. The cardinals done me a wrong, and they've done wrong to me. Certainly Cardinal Hoyos among them, and Cardinal Sanchez, and there's others. And so I made a case against them. I documented everything else. Now, what the law says is you have to only give it to the Pope. So we submitted to the Pope. Now, the law says that if the Pope doesn't answer 30 days, you can submit it again. And if he doesn't answer 30 days more, you can submit it again. If he doesn't answer after the 3rd time, he is deemed to have taken the case. The Pope has been deemed to take 3 cases, at least, which I've done in all due form, kept the proper timing. I have all the receipts for finding the documents, everything else, and the popes have never heard the case. So as far as I'm concerned, canon law is suspended until the Pope hears this case, because I've accused them of very serious crimes. They should be defrocked from being cardinals, and I've proven it in my case. And the Pope is bound to take the case. So if we want to turn the tables, which really should be done, these are liars arguing against me. So among them you have the Cardinal Secretary of State making lies about me and then claiming that I'm suspended. Well, let me put it this way. In fact, I've gone through 6 cases with the signature myself. And one of the cases was the prefect for the congregation for the signatura. I and my lawyer, I must say, we got him to recuse himself, that is to withdraw himself, because he was prejudiced in our case. And he recused himself. Now, to save face for himself, he recused himself 3 days before we filed. But we only heard about it after we filed, of course. But anyway, but that was Augustoni. He was a Swiss cardinal. I think he must be dead by now too. But my point being that this is a very simple case here. They tell me, John, under holy obedience, pick that thing up. Now try and pick it up, but slowly. John, you're disobedient. John, I'm telling you to pick that piece up. Now try and pick it up. You're disobedient, John. You didn't pick it up. John, pick it up. You're disobedient. You're suspended. Now, am I making this up? No.
Because I know that's what happened to you.
Yeah, but because what they said very simply was this: find another bishop. So I found another bishop. Then in the back door, they go and say to the bishop, don't take him. I had this on record in writing from Bishop Brego in northern India. The man, the good man, great man, I said, I've got to find another bishop. So I find another bishop. He's not the only one, but I found another bishop, Bishop Brego. So Bishop Brego writes to my bishop to get the letter of excardination. The bishop was commanding me to find another bishop. Says, I'm not giving it to you. So here he is, first of all, he says, I'm waiting for orders from the Vatican. In the meantime, then he gets called in. Bishop Rego, the same man, gets called in by the papal nuncio, telling he has to go down the mountainside, come down to Delhi, and he says, if you incarnate Father Gruner, we will not give you any more money from the Vatican. He says, my diocese runs on the money from the Vatican. We're too poor, we can't do anything. He says, I have to withdraw my. But this is exactly what happened. And they tell me, find a bishop, I find the bishop. Then they, forbid, don't give the document that he needs, although we found one anyway afterwards for the second one. But secondly, they tell him, they say, you have to withdraw your offer because otherwise. So now that's the game going on.
Now, here's the thing, though. We're out of time.
Okay.
Let's take this to a part two, but just you want to close with something just to...
Well, basically, first of all, no, I've never been suspended. I've not been suspended. There's no decree that's ever been filed with me in any form of legality saying that I'm suspended.
This is kind of a special edition, and we will see you next time.